So today we're going to be making a New Year's Eve dinner, including dessert, that's going to knock your socks off. So this dinner and dessert is going to be completely healthy, low carb, and ready to knock in your new year without the guilt. Today on the menu, I'm going to be making some stuffed bell peppers. I'm also going to be making some keto coleslaw, and I have a really delicious appetizer, which is going to be some deviled eggs. And then for dessert, we're going to be having a delicious chocolate peanut butter fluff. Now, if you've never had that, it's high in protein, low in carbs. This is something you could have in your freezer ready to eat all the time. It is so good, and it's one of my secret weapons in losing weight. So let's get started today. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna saute up some onions. I'd say about a half a cup, and then we're gonna be cooking up some ground beef. So when my onions start cooking, all I'm gonna do is cook up my ground beef. You want your ground beef cooked. Some people stuff their bell peppers with uncooked rice and ground beef. It will cook up, but any grease or anything like that that's inside of the bell pepper is gonna stay there. So if you're trying to make this more healthy, you'll wanna use kind of a lean beef, and also you'll want to cook up your ground beef ahead of time. All right, my ground beef and onions are all cooked, so I'm gonna go ahead and start adding all my seasonings. I'm gonna be adding about a half a teaspoon of some garlic powder. And I'm just gonna put that right over the top. I'm gonna put in some fresh black pepper. Now I'm actually making this kind of an Italian flavored stuffed bell pepper. And you put in the seasonings that you like. This is just what I like. A little salt. I have some basil leaves. I'm gonna put in about a half a teaspoon of those. And these are all herbs that I have dehydrated out of my garden. I've got some dehydrated oregano. I'm going to put some of that in. And today I'm going to be dehydrating more because I realize I'm all out. So there you go. Oregano and just a little sprinkle of some red pepper. Not too much, but a little bit. Then I'm going to be adding a little bit of tomato paste. Start off with a half a can. And I like the tomato paste. It just adds a little bit heavier flavor, a little bit stronger flavor than the tomato sauce. But I also have some home canned pizza sauce. I'm going to add some of that, maybe about a quarter of a cup. Then I got some pre-cooked jasmine rice. And you go ahead if you want to add some brown rice or whatever you want to add to yours, even if you want to use maybe cauliflower rice. I've done it many times with that. Today I'm going to go ahead and use just a cup of rice. All right, now we're going to cut our peppers, and we're going to go ahead and stuff them and get those all ready to put in the oven. So all we have to do is throw them in there a little bit later. This is going to be a really easy night of cooking. So what I like to do is cut my peppers in half. I mean, you can leave them whole and just stuff a whole pepper. I mean, however you want to do it. So I think this time I'm just going to try to flatten out these stems a little bit, and I'm going to cut them this way. Sometimes I cut them on the diagonal, sometimes I cut them in half. It just depends really on what the pepper looks like. So what I really love about meal prepping is that you can do so much of this when you are working, when you have, a life, when you're super busy. I mean, this just takes all the guesswork out of making meals. So So all I'm gonna do is just spoon some of this mixture right into each of these little cups. All right, our stuffed peppers are all put together. I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of this large jar of sauce over this. Now, I'm not going to put the cheese over it at this point. And when you bake this, you're gonna bake it with foil over it at 350 for anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes. You want the peppers cooked. Then we're gonna put some cheese over it, and we'll go ahead and put that back in for about 5 minutes, just till the cheese melts, and that'll be uncovered. For me, I'm just gonna put a piece of plastic over this because I'm gonna leave it in the refrigerator until it's time to bake. Now we're gonna make the simplest keto coleslaw you've ever had. It's simple, it's delicious, and you can just throw it in the refrigerator till evening, and it's gonna come out even better because all those flavors are gonna marinate. So when I said easy, I really wasn't kidding. So I'm actually using some pre-made coleslaw mix. Now, if I had fresh cabbage, I would use that. I actually just don't have any. I happen to have this because I saw it in the refrigerated section, and I just decided to buy everything easy this week. So I've got some coleslaw mix. I'm gonna add some pre-cut onions to this. You can leave out the onions if you don't like raw onions. I love them. I'm actually gonna add a jar of these sliced salad olives with some minced pimento. I'm gonna drain the liquid off because I don't want the liquid, but I'm gonna add these to my salad. So one of the ways that we're gonna make this a more healthy dish is that instead of adding so much mayonnaise, we're gonna be adding about 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt. Now this is original whole Greek yogurt, plain. It doesn't have any of the flavors in it, maybe 1/2 cup. And then we're gonna add a little bit of mayonnaise just to have some of that mayonnaise flavor, about a tablespoon. Then I put in about a teaspoon of dill. Now this is dill I dehydrated last summer out of my garden. I'm gonna put in some pepper, some freshly ground pepper. Put in some salt. I'm gonna put in some monk fruit sweetener, about a tablespoon or 2, depending on your taste. I'm probably gonna put in like 1.5 tablespoons. And the star of our show is my homemade apple cider vinegar. So we are going to add some of this, and I'm gonna put in probably about 2 or 3 tablespoons, and we're just gonna mix this together. And we're gonna taste it before we put it on the coleslaw, and just make sure this is the flavors that we're looking for. You may need to add more vinegar. You may need to add more, sugar substitute. I mean, you decide what you add. And if you've never substituted Greek yogurt for mayonnaise, you should give it a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. All right, so we are gonna go ahead and pour this right over our dish. And we're just gonna stir all that up together. Here is our coleslaw. It's all mixed up together really nicely. We're gonna leave that in the refrigerator until dinner. Then I'm gonna serve it up with our Italian stuffed peppers. And I'm gonna give this a taste just to make sure there's enough onion. As I said, I love onions. So if you've never made a keto coleslaw before, give it a try. It's something great to have on hand. Again, you can make it ahead of time. So good. I could eat a bowl of that right now. But I'm not going to. I'm gonna wait, because it's a treat. Oh, those olives and pimentos add this wonderful flavor to it. Oh, delicious. So let me put this in the refrigerator. I've got my eggs all boiled. I'm gonna put those together later for you. And then we're gonna start on the dessert as our last little step in this New Year's Eve process. So now we're going to be making our special cottage cheese whip. I'm going to go ahead and call it a chocolate whip. It just sounds a little bit better. So let's go ahead and put this together. I guarantee if you try it, you're going to like it. You're never going to know it's cottage cheese, and it's going to be really good. So I opted for a low-fat cottage cheese, but you could use any kind of cottage cheese you like. If you like the whole fat or the fat-free, whatever it is, it's all going to be good, and it's still really healthy. So I'm actually going to be using this whole container. We're not going to have all of it tonight, but I wanted some for tomorrow or maybe another day this week that we could enjoy. So I'm just putting mine into a mini food processor. Now before I add the dry ingredients, I'm going to add a little bit of whole milk to it. And this is just, I only have like a tablespoon. So I'm just going to put that in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and start blending this. So to this, I want a chocolate peanut butter today. So I'm going to be adding some PB2, about a tablespoon of that. And this is just the powdered peanut butter, and it doesn't have any fat in it. I'm also going to be putting in about a tablespoon of cocoa. This is unsweetened cocoa powder. And I'm going to be putting in a couple tablespoons of monk fruit sweetener. Now I'm going to taste this to make sure it's sweet enough. But at this point, we're going to stir this up. All right, I ended up adding about another teaspoon of peanut butter flour to this, or my PB2. And so now all I'm going to do is put these into some little jars. Now these are just my little half-pint jars. I'm going to add some of this to each of these. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to melt a little bit of dark chocolate. And I am going to put this right over the top of these. I have a couple of mini dark chocolate chips. I'm just going to melt this and put this over the top of my dessert. All right, after I've melted the chocolate, all I'm going to do is put some of this right over the top of our dessert. And there you go. These are ready for the freezer. I'm going to put them in the freezer for about an hour. Just going to loosely put a lid on each one of these. And I'm going to take these out when it's time to have dinner. And I'm going to show you how amazing these came out. This is a very small bar of chocolate. It's just a snack size bar. It's 0.88 ounce. It's very small, 25 grams. And we only used about half of it. So I'm going to save the other half for another day. Probably like if you could get a dark chocolate, one of the Ghirardelli's prepackaged little ones would work just about the same. So I've had my stuffed peppers in the refrigerator all day, and now it's time to bake them. So I'm actually going to put mine in a cold oven because I have a glass pan. And I'm going to cover it with a little bit of aluminum foil. And I'm going to cook these for about 35 to 40 minutes. I want those green peppers to get cooked and softened up. And I will bring you back when this is all ready. And we're going to just throw it in the oven. So my deviled eggs are all done. I just make a typical deviled egg. I mash the yolk. I add like maybe a tablespoon or two of mayonnaise, salt and pepper. The only thing I do different is I do add a couple tablespoons of sour cream. I just think it makes the deviled eggs a little creamier. So it's time to start our appetizers. So these are the stuffed bell peppers. They look delicious. My whole house smells very good. So I'm gonna go ahead and serve these. Couple nice sized peppers here. As you can see, this cheese has melted. I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of sauce over each of these. So my New Year's dinner is all completed. Stuffed bell peppers, my appetizer of a couple deviled eggs, and my keto coleslaw. This is a delicious dinner. It's really healthy and a great way to start the new year. So as soon as dinner's over, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the dessert and then wish you a happy new year. So last but not least, I have my chocolate peanut butter fluff. So I'm so excited to have this, and I'm gonna just show you how it looks after I break it up with a spoon. So all we're gonna do is take our spoon, get some of this chocolate, this dark chocolate. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? Let's give it a try. I've been waiting for this all day. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you'll think outside the box if you're trying to lose weight, and 2026 is the year you're going to get this accomplished. These are some things that might be able to help you. Tonight, some delicious stuffed green peppers. I had some keto coleslaw. I made some deviled eggs as appetizers and this delicious chocolate peanut butter dessert. So thanks for joining me today. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Give me a like, a thumbs up, or ring that bell for future notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.